Hey everybody, and welcome back to From Boxes to Butterflies. I kind of took off the past week because, well, I was kind of out of town. It was, let's just say, it was one amazing adventure that happened over the past week. Is I had this opportunity to go to Podfest. But it was even more than that. It was more than just going to Podfest. It was an opportunity to have one of those in real life moments. There were so many people that I got to see. And it's like going to Podfest. There was a chance to see, and I know I'll never get everybody, because there were a lot of people from LinkedIn that crossed paths here and there, and some I got a chance to speak with, and others I still didn't get a chance to. But the conversations, the event itself, I mean, imagine seeing people that you have this relationship with over now, for many of them, over a year. You've seen them, you've had comment conversations, because that's where the magic happens, on LinkedIn. But then you get that opportunity to see them in real life, where you get to touch them and get a big hug. And it's just that amazing feeling. I mean, I talk about move beyond boxes. Well, this was definitely a move beyond boxes moment for this trip. Um, the first thing is, and many of you saw the beginning of it, was to go from Portland to the San Diego airport. And what happens, but as I get to my next flight, and yes, this was planned, but there's my sis. There is the amazing CJ, Dr. Constance LEYLAND. And from there, it was just amazing. We do her live show, then we do, halfway as her show's going on, then Sandra Gonzalez shows up, and the three of us, it was the three of us for the whole trip. We flew from San Diego to Orlando and back. And yeah, just that alone, just that time, being able to talk, being able to see the real mannerisms of somebody, how they speak, how their hands move. Are they the same as what you pictured from your conversations? And it's definitely a yes. CJ, Sandra, I just love these ladies. They're so freaking awesome. Then we went through Healthcare Amplified, and it was a chance to meet the Soaring Prophets. So James and Patrick was an amazing time, just getting to see people that I didn't get to know in real life until that point. And to see Rocky and Sia and Jody Lamb, and just the connections I have every time crossing paths with Sia was just, she's the same. And Jody, because we have some other connections, so it was great. And then one of the highlights was really, for me, was getting to see Nancy Deborah Barrows. To see Nancy Deborah, I've seen her on a number of places. She's been on with Aaron for Aaron Gibson on Soul Man Live. And she is just such a phenomenal lady. And to be able to sit down and talk with her and to be able to share stories. And even on Saturday when she and Brian had their Voice Your Vibe live from Podfest, and they had just so many people going on with them. And towards the end of it, well, it's hard to say if it was really the end, because they didn't go 2 hours like normal. They went 3.5 hours live at Podfest. And at one point on the latter half of that, after they were supposed to be done, CJ and I went by, and Brian pulled CJ in. And so CJ was part of the show. And then when she got done, Nancy pulls me in, and I get to be on the show. So there were so many amazing memories made at Podfest. A time of camaraderie, a time of bonding. It was beautiful. And it was very much, when I talk about move beyond boxes, we all have these pieces in life that hold us back. We know that we want to do something. We know that we're capable of doing a lot. But like I say, if knowledge is half the battle, then awareness is the first step. And when you are aware that you can do that, I mean, knowledge is, you know it, you know you can do something. Awareness is, you can do it, and it's time to take that first step. And that's exactly what this trip was for me. It was a huge first step. It was the removal of aspects of walls that were still trying to hold me in various ways. So this trip, everything about it was really more than I could ever dream of, that I could ever expect, from arriving and as late as it was, so having Denny's at like midnight, to finally departing and having the three of us in the same row on the airplane back from Orlando to San Diego. It was a beautiful trip, a beautiful time. And there's just, when you're with your people, when you're with those that you're safe with, that you can trust, this is also belonging. This is what it means to belong. I know some people will talk DEQ, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. For me, what really counts is belonging. When we belong someplace, whether it's in the workplace, in family, with friends, belonging is knowing you're where you're supposed to be, you're safe, you can let your guard down. And in this world, we need more of that. We need more of that ability to drop the walls, to let the cracks in the walls grow, to let them go. Just drop the walls. Stop listening to those who are telling us what we're supposed to do, who we're supposed to be with, who we're supposed to be, to stop listening to fear. Because, like with my story, going to Orlando, there were a lot of reasons to have fear, yet very quickly it wasn't an issue for me, and that's what made this trip so much better. Um, Being on that trip and then being with two ladies who I've I felt safe with. It's like the three of us, we could go anywheres. We were safe. It was fun. It's fun when you kind of go, okay, this person is kind of the focal point, and they'll just kind of say, yeah, these are my bodyguards. I mean, with CJ, it was easy. She had a Marine officer, and she had an Army officer. So yes, she was well connected for her bodyguards with Sandra and I. It was really fun, and the interaction with people to walk into a huge hall filled with exhibitors, to talk with people, to learn about podcasting equipment, to, I mean, yeah, samples too. I mean, my new water bottle by StreamYard. It, it's just the things that you get and the things that you learn. It makes it a beautiful memory, and really those are the things that we need in life, having beautiful memories that we can always go back to. And it doesn't mean that we're living in the past, but it means that we have these memories and we want to keep them. We want to learn from them. I mean, even bad memories we can learn from. So having memories, having all of these aspects of our lives, that's what our past is for, is to remember these things, to be able to recall the good and the bad, yet at the same time to not live in the past. I mean, how often do we see movies that you've got people, especially like these guys who are they were sports heroes in high school and they're living their glory days all the time, yet in the present they're not doing so well because they're always living in the past. This is what I want everybody to stop doing. This is putting yourself in a box of the past that you'll never get out of. How are you supposed to get out of that box if you keep living in it? How are you supposed to be present now if you are just focused on what happened in the past, focused on whether it's good or bad? It's really a time that we need to accept the past for what it was, learn what we need to learn, remember the good times because it's a part of us, but stay in the present so that we can always keep moving forward, that we don't focus on the past and the future, we focus on the now, how we're going to take the next step beyond the boxes and move on a path that we decide. If we're stuck in the past, that means we're stuck on a path that's already been cemented in place up to where we're at. What we need to do is let that go and realize it's time for us to create a new path. Our lives are going to be a legacy. And there's so much more to this that's going to happen when I talk about legacy, I talk about writing. And yeah, I can sit here and say, I've, in a 6-month period, I was published in 7 different books, 3 my own, 4 of them were anthologies. That's, on the one hand, it can sound like bragging, but on the other hand, what it really is telling a story, and telling a story in different ways. I'll take it right back to move beyond boxes and shine. The shine is be your authentic self. Everything that I've written is focused on being authentic, moving beyond boxes. Some of it I didn't even realize it was that way until this summer. When I look at my duology right now, the Armor of God series, that's exactly what it is. It is the story of a main character who all his life is being told who he is, what he's supposed to do, what is expected. He's looked down upon because he's not like his dad, he's not like his brothers. And it becomes his personal journey, even though there's a quest. His journey is a quest within a quest to find himself and to move beyond those boxes that so many others are putting him in, how he's viewed, how people interact with him. The same with my stories, the same with my reinvention memoir. It's all about moving beyond boxes and shining authentically. But something else that's coming up, and there is only, you have until tomorrow to take advantage of this opportunity that my sis CJ put together. Constance LEYLAND has an anthology that after tomorrow, the doors close. And she is quick. When she makes a plan, it's like, this is the schedule, this is when it gets done, this is when we start. When the doors close, the doors close. And this anthology, Beyond Boundaries, Thriving in Life's Gray Zone, everybody is going to have a different take on this. But this is another way. Everything I've talked about, including the book with Nick in December for I Am Your Legacy. These are all opportunities, especially with an anthology, to write your legacy, to pass it on to others, whether it's those that come after us, whether it's a message to family members now, or it's a message to just a group of people that will come after you. That was the beauty of Nick's legacy book. People were providing stories to their kids, to their parents. For my case, it was giving it to other people. It's like, for women that follow me, this is it. My focus is on women. My focus is moving beyond the boxes we stick ourselves in. And that's what I write about. Well, in this book that's coming up, it's going to be a chance to show how living in the gray, in some ways, the way I view it, it's living beyond boxes. You are not this, you are not that. You're viewed in the gray, but sometimes the gray is the best place to be and thrive because you make of it what you will. And now, what I really want to do, I've got some authors who are in this book who are going to be a part of Boundaries. And I'm going to pull them up. I'm going to start with one, and who knows how this is going to go because, I just pop somebody up and away they go. And I'm going to start with the person who gave me this idea this morning to do this as part of my live stream today. And that would be Ollie.
Oh, am I audible?
You are very audible.
Well, thank you, Sister Susanna. I really love when I can give amazing ideas, and for me, it's really now. It's now is the time, and it could be overwhelming because in this world there are many things going on. But one breath at a time, taking the time to breathe. And so, if you have questions, feel free. Else, I can talk for hours about my passion, about my story. But of course,
Oh,
I will let also others to speak because it's not only me; it's we. It's from me to we.
oh, this is very much a we. And the next person that actually jumped on the bandwagon so quickly was Crystal.
Oh,
Like the minute
Of
I put it out
course.
there, Crystal's like, I'm in.
Well, I mean, I have to support all of us with this, and I've been dying to be on your show anyway. So, of course.
Of course.
And I had nothing better to do today except for working on my solo book and dealing with, trying to figure out publishing. So, this is a nice break.
It's writing. It's all writing. And then right now, at least for now, unless somebody else just pops up out of nowhere, there's still one more sister to come. And this would be the sister who's been on my show for probably the second most number of times because DJ and Nick have been on a few times. But now we have Dr. New.
Hey, sisters. It's so good to see you.
And brother.
what an
And
angel!
brother. Because I say, well, sisters first and then Ollie brother. But of course, it's not only you see how amazing we have people from all over the world that we call brothers and sisters. We got Ollie in Belgium and Crystal. It's where, Crystal?
Missouri.
Missouri, so cold state. And then we have Susanna that's in cold state also. Is it still cold, Susanna?
No, it's not as cold as it was when I left.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, at least Portland is. We're hitting the 60s, so.
Oh, much warmer than when you left.
It
Better than
is.
30s.
It's 49.
Oh.
It's 49 at least. Better than the negatives that I had a week ago.
Whoa. It's always positive. There you go. And I'm here in Texas, so it's always warm. But I've been in like Massachusetts when I was in pharmacy school. So I know we walk like negative 13 something like degrees, right? To go to school. It was freezing. And so I know how cold it is, but I think it's always the blessing for us to be here in the present moment when Susanna said, that's all that we have. And sometimes when people are here, they're still not here, right? Susanna, they're thinking something else. They're like, okay, I got this, I got that. So I think when we cherish each and every moment we have is a blessing. And it's a present of itself. So thank you, Susanna, for having us.
Well, I'm so
and giving me
happy
the
to have
motivation
you
to actually dye my hair because I was tired of the gray anyway.
all. So what I want to do I'm gonna go ahead and kind of ask a couple of questions, and I'm gonna let you guys. It's gonna be kind of round robin, and I'm gonna let Ollie start with this one. So, what I want to know is, what does it mean to each of you to be writing in a book about what it's like to live life and thrive in the gray zone of life? And we'll start with Ollie and then Crystal and Dr. New.
Thank you. So my intake is that it's so easy to stay on our shell, or is fine until the universe is sending us a message, a violent message that happens in our life, and we don't have any other choice than to get kicked out of our shell and to try to navigate in the gray zone. That's why I see that it's either we choose each day, each week, each month, what will we do? Either we go in motion, and at some point, God, Jesus, universe, the divine, whatever, Mother Earth, is urging us in a painful way to make changes. And sometimes it's really changes that are really difficult to bear. And so I see like a fluency, the fluency of exploring the gray zone. And I love the metaphor, like it's like tipping your toe in a pool that is quite cold, rather than to be pushed by someone in the pool and you are directly until in the cold water. And that happens most of the time when the universe see that we don't change and is acting for us to change. It push us into the swimming pool. Or we can say, okay, sooner or later, I'm going to have to go to the swimming pool. So let's be really in the corner, tip my toe, check the water, and do it at my own pace, and exploring at my own pace the gray zone. And that's why it's also important to realize that we are not alone in the pool. People are here to help us. The only word that will allow us to get help is, please help me. I need help. I need your help. Help me on that. Because there are people that will help you if you don't express, but there are people, if you are in the moving sand, they are waiting for you the signal to launch your hand and to ask them for help, in order that they can bring you out of the moving sand, because they are not going to place themselves in this moving sand themselves. So that's the way I approach it. Thank you.
And Crystal.
Well, I kind of see it as I've lived in the gray zone most of my life, to be honest. I wanted to be the popular kid, but I never was. So I fit in with the misfits. I took care of the ones that were smaller than me. You know, I was kind of the mom and everything, but I never wanted to fit in a box. I always was loud, you know, just me. And so living in the gray zone for me is easy to talk about because it's how I've always been. You know, I never really fit. I was a tomboy, but I was also girly. And like my dad used to joke that I was the perfect son, but the wrong body parts. Now tell me if that's fitting into a box, you know? I mean, he loved it. He could dress me. I could dress up nice and we could go out to a nice dinner. And then the next morning get up and go play paintball. And I'm doing better than half the guys on the field, you know? So living in the gray zone for me is just the norm. But getting other people to understand that not everything in life is black and white. that there is the gray zone of, especially when you add emotions, emotions aren't rational. Emotions are not black and white. They make you do things that rationally, you shouldn't. Fear is a motivator, protecting someone, you hear about it all the time, how people do crazy things for love. And it's all kind of a gray zone. I'm not saying like anger, hurting people, but it's all kind of a gray zone. And we all live in it, whether we'd like to admit it or not, to be honest. And it's just how you navigate it that is important.
Okay, sis.
Wow. So I think this topic, thriving in the gray zone for me has always been, I think since I was a little girl, I never fit in. I didn't feel like I fit in, but like, it's like, even when at home, you have all the siblings, and I have one brothers and two sisters, but I was always questioning things. I was always like, why, like, why should it be this way and this and that? And even till now, I always do things differently, or I look at different how some problem could be, and I see, well, it's not a problem, right? It's never been. I think it's because of the way my brain and the way I interpret things, and I think it's because I see it, something's missing as a little girl to now as an adult. The purpose of what is it? The purpose in life, right? That's always been in my head, and I think growing up and going to school and going through our career and building our business, it's always the top of what is it that we're doing here on this planet Earth that we call home, and what impact are we making? And for people thinking that the impact is just financial support or financial stability, and we go on this rat race, right, of climbing the ladder and then burn out and not knowing what we're here for, and going here and there, trying to find different programs, different coach. I mean, to find our essence. But we have to put a mirror to have a reflection, to really look within us. It's not what's out there. What someone else is telling you is not who you are. And you try to fit in that box that, Susanna's talked about, is we got to move beyond those boxes. Those are the limitations that we and society has put us in. And when you know that you can move further, and maybe your concept and what you believe, maybe it's not wrong, or maybe it's not something about right or wrong. It's just the way it is, right? And you can accept them for who they are, for you and for them for who they are. And that is when you realize you have a message, right? And it goes to now that message. Are you going to just live in it, or are you going to have to share your story? When you share your stories in a book like with Dr. Constance LEYLAND, and us here are all involved right here now, is to leave a little bits of our stories, to inspire people, to motivate people to know that they're not alone. Here, those journey that we're sharing with you is not because it's us. It's never been about us. So those who are inspiring to write, and listening to us, is no matter what, even if you're not part of a book, start writing, right? Start writing your journey. And when you feel like you want to put your voice out for the better good for somebody who's like you, who walks a little footstep behind you and want to be where you're at, maybe you can inspire and ignite that fire within them to really raise their potential to the highest, because that is what gives them that fire that lit within them. And that is what we are aimed to do. It's not about us, but it's a message that we want to amplify. And we have the right resources to do it. And that is what this whole, I think every day we live in the gray zone, making that decision. Is it this or is it that? Right? So yes, it's totally, this is something that I think everyone can resonate. And I think when we collectively put together so many amazing stories, it will empower and will uplift and really all of us globally bring all of us together, because at the end of the day, that's truly what we're wanting to do, that making that positive impact. And words do matter.
And there's so much to that. And I love the word ignite. I picked that word. I used to say spark awareness, but a spark never guarantees that the fire is going to get started. If you ignite it, it's going. And it's going to go probably really quick. The other thing is, when it comes to writing, when we're telling our stories, it's always important to know that as the writer, as the storyteller, you say as much as you're comfortable with about your story. So for some, they might feel like they have to be too vulnerable or they have to say too much. It's like, no, you don't. You say what you're comfortable with, because that's the whole, that's a part of belonging. When you belong, you know that nobody's going to look at you because you shared too much or not enough. You do what fits for you. And I like the comments about not black or white, because it's not. That's what that's what gray is. And yet I'm curious for each of you, when we talk about life and thriving in the gray zone, do you see color in the gray zone? And I'm going to start with Crystal this time.
Of course I do, but then again, I see color and beauty in everything. I am determined to. I always have. I joked that if I lived in Greek times, I would have been a priestess of Aphrodite, and actually did study to do so. I'm technically ordained as a priestess of Aphrodite in this life. But that's because I can see beauty and color and everything in everything, even things that terrify me. I mean, cobras. I'm like deathly afraid of cobras. I even have night terrors about them, but they are so beautiful and graceful, So, and even on the darkest day in the gray, with the grayest sky, there's always that lining where the sun peeks through, So of course there's going to be colors in the gray, because gray is not black. It's not the absence of color. It's a combination of light and dark. So yeah, there's going to be color in it, whether it's bright colors trying to shine through or darker shades, trying to drag you down. It's all how you see it and how you want to respond to it, So everything has to be colorful.
Yeah. How about you, Dr. New?
Yes, I do see. So when we talk about gray in the gray zone, do I see colors? I do see, and with the metaphor, it's the same way when we talk about color, when we mesh all the different colors combined. So that's all jumble into that become messy, right? So in that metaphor, I see the same as when we go through adversity, when we go through challenges, when we go through a dark tunnel, when we have a fighting, whether it's in our internal dialogue that we are fighting because we're going through a depressions, right? We have things that, and all that, there is a beauty in it. I see color because it's the good and the bad, right? The things that will make us for who we are, and all the people in the community, right? Like, for instance, we have the wonderful circle that we are part of. Those are the shining lights, right? That lift you up. But then you have your internal dialogue that you say, oh no, you can't be going on stage and do this and do that, right? Those are the demons. It's good and evil when we talk about, always good and bad. But when you mesh them and you have the courage to step, that is the beauty in having all that. And when you go through adversity, just the willpower to go through it, right? That's your beauty, and embrace all of it. And I always say is having compassion, not just when you're having everything beautiful, but go through the motion, even in adversity, live through it. Remember all that feeling so you can get out, and remember that fire that lit you up while you go straight through that tunnel, right? Why do you have something that you so focused? Because you want to get out of it, right? You don't want to go in that tunnel again. Remember every single moment of it so you can help others go through it. So that is where I see of how colorful and beautiful, because we embrace it all. That is what I see, sis.
Yeah, there's so much beauty out there. How about you, Ollie?
Well, first, I would like to, before answering your question, you shared about transparency. And I totally agree with you, because it's about what we feel comfortable to share, and also to not having some limitations about what might our readers or want to read, or if what we are sharing is too much for them. I think the most important is it comfortable to us. So I can share, for instance, that 13,000 days ago, I was celebrating my 12th birthday, but not knowing that a year later, when I was celebrating my 13th birthday, my mom wasn't there. And I can stop sharing like that. I'm not going to go too much deeper in the story. So it's about feeling comfortable about ourselves to share. And when it comes to the gray zone, first, I do pay attention about words, and I think it's not gray. I think the gray zone is full of colors. That's why we need also to reframe that. And we can also, even if it's uncertainty, we can put ourselves of our colors based on our past excursions, because it's not only the first time right now that we are exploring the gray zone. We did it already multiple times in the past, so we can go back to the memory and tell to ourselves, oh, I was already exploring the gray zone in the past, so it will be fine. And then also to ask others to bring their own colors. As we are all in the friendship, there are many boats around us, around our own inner boat. And that's why we also can ask friends and even strangers to help us to explore the gray zone. And I feel like it's like the river. It's a deep river. You cannot swim, but there is a boat, and then you take the boat. But then when you cross the river, you don't have to take the boat in your shoulder. You leave it to the other persons that are going probably to cross the river back and forth. So it's to tap in the receiving, to allow ourselves to receive help, and that's a huge challenge. But I'm better at it right now, so that's why I'm really proud of myself. Thank you.
Yeah, there's challenges. There's getting to know yourself better, and this is something else I've seen within writing, and I don't know how many of you have been published before. I know Dr. New was. Crystal, I think, are you on your first book, or have you been published?
I was part of the Rattled Awake
that's
Volume 3 with Dr. New, but I am working on my first solo now.
Right.
fact, I'm
So you've
finalizing now.
you've got your first book, and then Ollie, have you been published in a book before?
Not yet.
Okay, so this is your first one. Is what I'm curious about as you're sharing your story, and this one may be more for Dr. New and Crystal. As you write your story down, because I know where I'm at on this, how was it in writing? And kind of what I'm getting at is emotions. When you wrote what you wrote, did you find unexpected emotions coming up as you're trying to basically write your legacy and tell your story to others?
You can go first, Sister New.
Well, I would say tears come to my eyes. Like I was writing, and I think a lot of things, because we deal with challenges every day, right? People show up differently. So when people have a smile on their face, and then and everything looks fine, but it's not fine, meaning their life, all of us has those challenges, but it's how we show up that people perceive a certain way. Oh, she or he have a wonderful life. Look at that. They're so happy. They're this and this, that. But in true reality, every home has its own problem. And we all does. And for me, when I was writing my books, and what I, multiple time, but I was, every time writing, always, things always come up. I remember when I was writing The Rattle Awake, literally, it felt like there's obstacle and obstacle. That's like, you're not going to be able to make it. But either I can give up, or I just have to make it to work. So when people always say you don't have time for, I say I challenge back, right? We all have 24 hours, but it's up to us on how we want to show up and utilize those time. Because for me, as a mom of 2 little kids, I don't think I'm hands off. I'm very active with them, making sure not only the education piece and nurturing and all, but it's relevant as in challenge will come. But when we write those chapters and life happens and things in our own personal life, it gives us tears because it prevents us from going forward. And or even in memory lanes, right? There's things that we kind of held it under the rug, should have said. And then when we write stories, we say, I guess, I want to share that part of so deep, or do I just give them a little high overview of a little bit of my stories, right? And I think that as an author and as a co-author in our anthologies, we choose to highlight those that we want to bring out to share to the world and our message, so that way people can resonate with us. And I think, that is what people will feel, because you pour your heart and soul and tears and sweat into writing the piece, because it's truly, coming from hearts and your soul. So that is what it came out for me, sis.
For me, actually, the chapter for Living in the Gray is actually going to be a lot easier for me than my chapter for Rattled Awake and my solo chapter. Because it's about basically my relationship with Matt and being able to actually have a thriving, somewhat healthy relationship after leaving an abusive relationship. So do I think I'll be emotional? Yeah, because I will put, some of the hard times and everything, because I don't sugarcoat, but overall, the Rattled Awake and Rise of Crystal Phoenix, yeah, it was really hard at times, because things that I thought I had worked through As I'm writing it out, realized, maybe I need to, do a little bit more work on that, And then other memories that I thought, would hurt more than they did surprised me, actually. So in some ways, like the emotions with those and were relief, but yeah, there was some tears when I was remembering specifics, like with my children and things like that. Not so much what I went through with him, it was more what I went through with my children that hurt. And but there was also some good tears and things like that as I was remembering the fonder things. So yeah, it definitely is a emotional roller coaster when we're telling our story, whether it's in a positive light, like my chapter for this anthology, or in a positive spin on a horrific situation, as I'm trying to do with Rise of Crystal Phoenix, and I did with Rattled Awake Volume 3 and my chapter. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I'm glad I did it, because it does help you heal every time you share your story, and writing it is truly healing. I tell people all the time to journal and, get that negative energy out. A lot of my journals have been burned over the years just to release that negative out. So, but that was a very loaded question, my dear. Love you.
Well, it's designed for that, because I've written enough that I know this. And so for Ollie, now that you have heard, and I can just say on a real brief, everything that I've written, there are things that pop up that sometimes we forget about until we start going back through that journey to write it down, and we can get hit sideways by something. So for Ollie, it's like you've heard all of this now. Are you ready for this journey? Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm ready, because I see the urgency, not the urgency that I have to do it tomorrow, but I see in 21st of June, I will be 48. My dad will be 75 in few weeks. And if I don't do the things now, when will it be? I was deeply reminded 15 months ago when my dear friend was transitioning at 50, 51 years old. I don't know how much time, but it was unexpected, a heart attack. And so I wish I could still live 13,000 more days up to 83 years old, but nothing is granted. I can also leave this world in 13 days. Hopefully not, because, but we never know. It's each day at a time. And that means also that we need to bring more joy each day, not to wait 1 year, 1 month, but to bring more joy as much as we can each day. So yes, I'm prepared. I still have some tears, even if I don't write. I was watching yesterday or before yesterday a movie that I really loved, and it's now my favorite Ghibli movie. I was loving Totoro, Spirited Away, but this one is really the top one that will, and it's When Marnie Was There. And this is a movie that I really recommend to see at schools, because it talks about what I lived. I lived bullying. I lived inner self-criticism also. So when Marnie Was There, it's a movie that was really making me cry. So I truly believe that now is the time that I have to write my story and bring my heart to people, and bring my my pen and my black paper, and as you see in my feed, boundaries, but also intentional, and to begin really to take time. That's the most challenge, because as you know, I am really aerial, angelic, and I need to be rooted. You see in there is a tree on top of a book. You don't see it properly, but I need to be more rooted. So that means also that from this time to this time, I'm sitting, I take my pen, I write on paper, and I just do that. And that's challenging because, there is maybe a webinar in 1 hour, or, so that's my challenge for this experience. So I'm really glad that I said yes, because I said no too many times to myself, and yes too many times to others. So now it's the time that I say yes to myself.
Well, it's fun too to hear you bring up the Studio Ghibli, because I've always liked many of those movies, and I actually learned about that one, about the studio, just from taking an anime course in college. Go figure that one out.
Wow.
But there's definitely some movies. If you ever to watch Grave of the Fireflies, Graveyard of the Fireflies, that is a tough one.
That's the most saddest that I ever watched. And
that one's a hard one. That one was really, really hard.
Oh yeah.
The end is a positive, yet it's not.
Yeah. What's funny is this, when Marnie was there, is actually one of the few Studio Ghiblis I haven't seen yet. Actually, Dr. CJ's daughter is actually making me a beautiful picture. Like, she drew for me of Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, and Nausicaa. Like characters from all three, because those are mine and Matt's favorites. So she's actually drawing me this beautiful, beautiful picture, and it's so gorgeous. I've seen it, but she wants to color it perfectly before I'm allowed to have it, and I'm like ready to cry. I'm like, I want it so bad. But I actually already loaded when Marnie was there onto my TV at home, just because I have not seen it. So
what I'm going to do now, because we are closing up on the hour, and time
flies, time butterflies.
When whether I'm alone or whether I got people on, it's like this show, time just seems to fly. And so what I want to do is have each of you kind of give whatever it is you want to call a golden nugget to kind of close things off, close your piece of it, but have it focused around writing and writing in an anthology. And I'm going to let you guys decide who goes first, second, and third.
Ladies first.
Well, Dr. New, you have the most experience in writing in anthologies and collaborative, so you can go first, my dear.
I was gonna say you should go, but okay.
Fine.
No, it's okay. I would say that the time is always now. Don't ever say I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. It's not about, we're giving you this message. It's not about just the book, but anything that you want, you're determined to get better at, to work on yourself, or whatever it is that you put on the back burner and you put yourself last. How about give yourself that you deserve? Now it's my time. Now is the day, because you never guarantee tomorrow. So let's live in the present and embrace all that we have.
I agree with that. when it comes to writing, especially in an anthology, it makes it a little easier, actually, because you have other people writing with you, and so you have other people to help support you. You know,
it's circling back,
and with the whole with editing and just getting your chapter out, because it can be hard, it can be painful. When I took part in Rattled Awake, that little workshop, it really did like help with like giving me some clarity on how I was going to do it. Granted, I'm a pressure writer. I literally wait for my deadline the night before and will knock it out. I will write 10 rough drafts and throw them all away, and then write the chapter and submit it without even rereading it, which is exactly what I did for Rattled Awake. I wrote like 5 rough drafts, threw them all away, sat down in front of my computer and just wrote it. Whether you're a pressure writer or not, it doesn't matter. Just write what you feel, and it's authentic. Sometimes it can come out as gibberish. Start with free writing, just writing in your head, and eventually it'll start to flow into a chapter, a story. And that is the most satisfying thing. And when you do it with an anthology, you have people to bounce ideas off and everything, and it's a support, and you really do form really good bonds when you write in an anthology like the one we're doing. So at least you've got support when you write your chapter. So
all is up.
Thank you. So I have multiple nuggets. Bring your joy, bring your heart when you are writing. Even 5 minutes, even 1 minute is better than 0. And also find new ways if you struggle to sit down and to write. There is also the voice recording when you are putting some voice on, and then you can transcribe. You can also type on your computer or use pen and paper, and choose your environment. Choose intentionally your environment, a calm one. Like, I think the best environments for that are libraries, where it's silent and you can focus. And intentionality, and bring your joy, and imagine, visualize already your book written, and how people will enjoy to read. So visualizing is there is a French quote, l'élan fait partie du saut. That means that before you jump, you take some, go back, like this, and then you jump. And this is part of the jump. So visualizing things already done is part already of the process, even before starting to do the thing. So that's my gem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you've brought. I decided to not quite go into asking what you were going to write, because I know that that's never a guarantee of what you think of today will be what happens tomorrow. I've seen how you start with one idea and something happens and you go off in a totally different direction.
I don't know what happened. Did you get to hear my message at all or no?
Yes, we heard everything, sis.
Oh.
It all worked. So you all had that chance. It was a little up and down breaking, but it came through. So everything it's great that I'm so glad you were all able to just last minute join and be a part of this, and that chance
we love you,
talk about what it means to be an author and write in an anthology. Because for many, once you write in that first book, even an anthology, the bug has bit, and you just never know what's going to come after that. And there's so many different genres. But an anthology is a great way to start.
And not sure if those already share, but the power of anthology and collaborations is very powerful. Also, as a first-time writers, because it also amplify your message that you're trying to get out there. It's not about making money, whatever your motive. But for me, I think for the general is it amplify your message. It get your message out massively because you're leveraging everyone networks and all the different one. And I think the power of collaboration is huge for those who haven't, right? And you're part of a community that also, like with Susanna having the expert, and she have a workshop to help you write and all. But those are the things that you're able to leverage and have feedback on. But if you write it solo, it not only costs a lot, but you don't have that guidance. So that is where you have the guidance support when you have collaboration. So collaboration is always over competition. So, and I appreciate
Always.
and I love you so much, sisters Crystal, Suzanne, and brother Ollie, and all the
want to
amazing
sing a song.
hands, and Dr. Constance LEYLAND. A lot to come, a lot to come in 2024.
Oh, yes.
I hope
definitely.
someday you'll join us and the world
Absolutely.
will be as one.
All right. Thank you everybody that's been watching, and for my amazing guests. And
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
going to
your
close
energy,
this
Susanna.
out. I'm going to close this out and see everybody next week.